Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description below.
Hello everyone and welcome to PC AOR Round 6 here at Austria for the Austrian Grand Prix. I am here today at the Red Bull Ring, and alongside me is Aladar as we bring to you today hopefully some thrilling action, considering the fact we are down on attendance. It's very unfortunate to see. However, I'm sure these drivers will make the most of it today, as this is probably one of the most fun tracks on the calendar and should be very entertaining nevertheless.
Yeah, for sure. It is one of the more fun tracks on the calendar. It's one of those ones where you can... I mean, you can't really nail it to the first time, but it doesn't take so long to practice because there's only so many corners that you have to get right. So, in general, it's sort of one of the sort of easier tracks, I would say, for the majority of the drivers. But that doesn't make it any less fun. And in fact, in a lot of cases, it makes it rather more fun. I mean, Monza's another one that's kind of, if you ignore corner cutting issues, is just really an easy track, but it's also a lot of fun to drive.
Yeah, so I definitely would agree on that one. It's a lot of fun, but I know from experience, and I'm sure you have too as well, along with any viewers watching, that this track is not an easy one to nail. As we go right on board with Flash, you'll be the first driver on a hot lap. You really have to nail the curves going into turn 1, riding the curves on entry and exit, staying valid just barely. That's basically the whole theme around the lap as these drivers try to go ahead and nail these laps to get the most out of the track with these cars.
Yeah, you got to push the limits to the very edge, but no further, as Flash does go further, locking up and getting a bit deep into turn 3 there. That will have cost maybe a tenth and a half or so for the Ferrari driver, but nothing that's completely unrecoverable at this early stage of qualifying, that's for sure. Nicely into turn 4, maybe a little bit tentative with the throttle on the exit, but nothing, again, that's going to cause him too much pain. Now you have to really toss it into turn 6. That was nice from Flash there, and into turn 7 we go again, beautifully kissing the apex and then meeting the second set of curbing on the right-hand side on the exits, and in towards turns 9 and 10, probably the hardest corner on the track here, turn 9, but he gets it done very nicely indeed. Turn 10, a little bit slow on the apex perhaps, but nothing that will cost him too much time, and it's a 103.162 to open out proceedings from the Ferrari driver.
Yeah, very strong first lap there as Gelbovan goes just a tenth off of him, and Kalachi crosses the line with what looks like an invalidated lap. The Racing Point drivers are both very close to each other on track. Not sure if that's intentional or just how they ended up coming out, but definitely slipstream around this track could be huge if the drivers on the same team decides to use it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think Kilachu actually just was completing his outlap as he almost loses it on the exit of turn 3 there. Major moment under traction. That's going to negate any of the advantage that this carefully orchestrated slipstream would have given him. And in fact, that's the other side of the slipstream, right? Is you get the dirty air as well. And in that moment, Kilachu felt the dirty air a lot more than he felt the slipstream. So this lap's probably already kind of ruined for the Racing Point driver, who can't really make it to the apex of turn 6 either. Nowhere near the apex of turn 7. So really struggling on this lap is the Frenchman. And you mentioned before we went live that he has a very, very quick time indeed around here in time trials, but he's not looking very good thus far in this qualifying session as he spins coming out of turn 9, and he'll probably just head straight back into the pits.
Yeah, definitely unfortunate that his lap got ruined, but that is the trick about Austria, is there are so many spots where you could lose the rear end just trying to get all of the track. And Kalachi right there clearly showed the worst end of it. Hopefully he'll be able to go out there again, as these drivers will definitely have at least 2 more sets of soft tires. So plenty more times for opportunities, rather, to get improve times, as this is a very short lap, the shortest one on our calendar right now. Zoran comes up to cross the line on his out lap to start his hot lap. So I thought he was finishing his lap there. I was going to give it a little transition, but hits it in, does cross the line. 9 thousandths off a pole from Flash, but still not enough to overtake the Ferrari driver, who set the first lap of the day and the fastest one so far.
Zoran and BenQ both out there pushing at the moment on flying laps, and Flash just eventually coming into pits after doing a second flying lap on his set of soft tyres. Didn't go any faster, though, it did the German, so just getting his eye in, a bit more practice before going towards the sharp end of qualifying in a few moments' time. But for now, let's take a look at Zoran, who's had an okay sort of Sector 1. Sector 2 is looking pretty neat and tidy as well. Nothing sort of world-endingly fast, but nothing disastrous either, sort of what you'd expect from the Hungarian in the Renault. Didn't quite make the apex of turn 7. That will have cost him just sort of half a tenth or so. Up towards turn 9 we go, throwing it into the corner. Almost losing control of the car just before the apex, but holding onto it nicely, using all of the road available to him on the exit of turn 10 and up towards the line. It's only going to be a 103.658 for Zoran. And there were no sort of major, sort of obvious issues on that lap, so I think he's just a little bit too slow at every corner, really.
Yeah, his first sector was 2 tenths down from what Flash's was, even though the minimap said purple. It was a 15.9 first sector. Flash did a 15.7. So yeah, it does just seem like he's just struggling in some of these faster corners, I'd say. By the looks of it, since Sector 1 really is just turn 1 that's mid-range speed, and then 2 that's just full out. So yeah, it is definitely interesting to see if he can improve on this, because that 13.5 or that 3.5 I don't think is reflective of his true pace from what we've seen so far from him.
Yeah, for sure. I expect to see some improvements throughout this session, of course, from many of the drivers. And hello to Steph in chat. Yes, I'm afraid we only do have 9 drivers here today, which is quite a disappointment, to be honest. We'd expect at this stage of the season to be having more, but it just seems like a lot of guys, when they start to lose a couple of races, when they don't get in the points, they don't win a few races at the start of the season, they decide they're just going to throw in the towel early. So that seems to be a bit of an issue we are having at the moment. But the 9 drivers that are here, kudos to them for showing up. Geldervand out here and pushing in the Racing Point, currently in P4 for now. Going to be heading up, or rather down, towards turn 4, just about making the apex, running a little bit too wide on the exit. That will have delayed his traction as he ran over the very slippery curbing around the outside of turn 4. And now in towards 6, that's okay. Turn 7, and he's actually improving on his lap time by quite a lot, but he runs wide on the exit of turn 7, cuts turn 8, and as a result, that's going to be an invalidation for the Racing Point driver, who will head straight back into the pits now.
Yeah, another driver who just invalidated a very quick lap was Cien. He did a 103.181, but he invalidated it on the very last corner by going wide. Unfortunate, because he was also on a flyer right there as well. But Geldervand, damn, he was 3 tenths up on his lap at the end of the middle sector. Very impressive job, but if he can just get it together, through turn 7, hey, he might be able to challenge for pole.
Yeah, he knows that pace is there within him, and he knows that he can access it as long as he just keeps it a little bit cleaner through turn 7. Now, Bogan up towards the line he goes, and it's a 102.8. First driver to dip into the 102s, goes 4 tenths of a second faster than his provisionally best lap time earlier on in the session. But Hittinen is out there pushing, just started a flying lap, and many other drivers will be looking to try and take that away from Bogan as well. What's Kilachu doing? A second down already in the first sector, I think I just saw. So yeah, not pushing in the Racing Point. Struggling to string a lap together thus far is the Frenchman, only on a 104.4 for now.
Yeah, he's definitely struggling at the moment. I think BenQ is BenQ invalidated. He was on a flyer, but he must have backed off. Might be trying to go for another run, since the cars should start out with enough fuel to do a second one, but they'll run the risk of running out fuel on their in lap. So I'm assuming that is what BenQ is doing at the moment as he lets Hittinen through, who does a 43 flat through the middle sector. It says it's purple. Not sure if it's a visual glitch, but he was a 10th up on his time, which is good enough for P2. But let's see if he can hang it through turns 9 and 10, gain the time he needs, and he nails the first one. Does he come out of 10 very nicely? Yes, he does. It stays valid, and he comes across the line. What will it be? A 102.9. Close, but no cigar just yet.
Indeed, yeah. About a tenth and a half between himself and his teammate, currently sitting in P1. But it's a good lap from the Finnish driver. Now, what's Flash doing? Flash is interestingly on the same set of soft tires that he started the session on. So he's gone back out on that same set, and he's just putting lap after lap in on them at the moment. 4 laps old for now, which is all well and good as long as he can genuinely improve on that 103.1. I'd expect him to be able to improve, but it does put the pressure on him not to invalidate any of his last couple of attempts that I'm sure we'll see on different sets of tires. Because if he does invalidate both of his final attempts, he's going to have to start the race on this set of tires, which he's already put 4 laps into now. So Flash playing a bit of a dangerous game right here with only 8 minutes remaining in the session. Gets well out of the way of Zoran, who's one of the only drivers out there on a push lap at the moment. And we'll see what he's able to do through turn 6. Again, it just looks a bit pedestrian on board with Zoran, but he's already actually half a second up on his best time. So he's looking to try and get into the 103.1s at the moment. If he can nail the final sector, he might be looking at even better than that. Into turn 9 we go, runs over the curb to a good extent. Same for turn 10, doesn't use quite so much of the road on the exit as last time, and up towards the line, it's a 103.0. to 7 for Zoran, which moves him up into 3rd position. That's good stuff from the runner.
Yeah, it's a very strong lap from Zoran. That's what I was talking about before. I assumed he would improve on that time, and there he goes, and thankfully proves me right. That was a very nice lap by him, as I believe I have a Haas driver crossing the line. Is that BenQ? No, it's Cient, I believe, starting a lap.
It's getting frustrating here for Gelbevand, who makes a mistake on this time on the exit of turn 6 and invalidates what was another very fast lap for the Racing Point driver. So Gelbevand getting in his own head a little bit right now. He's actually going to stay out on the set of tires and go for a second push lap in a row, as he was only about halfway around the previous lap when he had to back out of it due to invalidating his lap. So the Racing Point driver will get another bite at the cherry on this set of cherry red soft tires, and immediately he bites straight into the hard stone in the center of the cherry by cutting turn 1, getting too greedy for his own good, and he will now have to head back into the pits yet again, and it's starting to get kind of crunch time now for the German in the Racing Point.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. I was hoping we could get a nice onboard lap of him because, yeah, he was really knocking off a lot of time on those first 2 sectors on those previous invalidated laps, but the German just got to hold it together and show what he can do, and I think we'll get a nice lap from him towards the end of the session, hopefully, at least for his sake.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Gelbevand is, as his teammate also goes ahead and invalidates on the entry to turn 6, trying to open up the angle too much and using too much of the curb on entry, meaning that Kilachu will not be able to complete this flying lap either. So both Racing Points really struggling, down in 6th and 8th in the order right now here in qualifying, which is worse than it sounds considering we only have 9 drivers.
Yeah, and another invalidation is Bogan, who is on a lap right now, and he validated it in turn 1, either on entry or exit. Not sure, but it is for sure invalidated, so it's another driver struggling. Cient is not on a push lap right now either. Is Oxygen on a lap? Oxygen is on a lap. He's 3.5 tenths up on his down on his previous best. He's coming into the final sector. Let's see if he can gain a couple positions here.
3.5 tenths won't really be enough for him, though. He's already about 3 tenths down on Gelbevand in P6, and then another tenth to Sissant up ahead, but up towards the line, it's a 103.248. That is enough to move him up ahead of Gelbevand, but only ahead of Gelbevand and into P6 for the Red Bull driver.
Still a strong lap. I mean, he's right there in the mix. If he could figure out, get another couple tenths right there, he was in a shout of a top 4 starting position. So I'm not sure if he's just struggling for overall pace or if he made a mistake, but hopefully the Red Bull driver will be able to string together a nice lap in qualifying and then proceed to get a good race result.
Yeah, I'm not sure if anyone's out there flying on their laps at the moment. Kilachu's actually coming up towards the line and goes into P4. That's better from the Racing Point driver, finally managing to string a lap together, but had to do it on a second run on that set of soft tires. So that's a slight downside there, but a 103.065 puts him well within reach of Zoran and Hittinen just up ahead as well. So only a slight improvement needed to find a place on the front row for the time being for the French driver. And that is good news, finally, in this qualifying session, which has been filled with bad news thus far for the Racing Point outfit.
Yeah, it's been a real struggle for both of their drivers, but Kilachu coming in with a nice lap. Now he's out of fuel, and that's the risk you run if you got to do an extra lap, but he should have plenty of time to do another one. We'll get back to the pits, put on another set of soft tires, and do one last run, assuming he wants to do that, which I assume all these drivers would, because these softs do not get that much worn in qualifying.
Indeed, yeah. So BenQ now. Oh, well, I was about to say BenQ starting a flying lap, but absolutely mega cuts turn one. I'm not sure what he thought was going to happen there. Yet to set a lap time in this session is the Haas driver. And the first race we've seen him in for a while, and he's not recovering himself in glory in this qualifying session thus far. He needs to keep it clean, keep himself away from some of those curbs. 5 invalidated lap times thus far from the German, so that's quite something.
I think BenQ might want to just, stick with the rhythm of not having a lap time down, because at this rate, doing the reverse strategy could come to benefit him, because the soft tires will be really fast at the end of the race, and the medium tires, assuming drivers do soft to medium, which is the expected strategy, those medium tires will die out, and those soft tires will just make overtaking easy. So as long as he can just stick with the drivers in front of him, if he puts on a set of medium tires, he could be in a shout for a really good result. But we'll have to see what he decides, because it looks like he's going to push for another lap. Yes, he doesn't hit the pit entry, so we'll have to see if BenQ can put down a time that puts him higher than P9.
Hittonen is currently on a flying lap, sitting in P2 in the Williams, evidently leaving himself the option to go for 2 flying laps on this set of soft tyres should it be necessary, just to make sure, whereas Bogan has actually waited for a long time to commence his outlap, and there's still a few drivers left in the pits as well, so they're evidently only going to go for 1 run on their final sets of soft tyres. And let's see how Hittonen is looking coming into the 3rd and final sector of the lap now, turn 9. Using a lot more of the road on the entry there than we've been seeing many of the other drivers doing. Washes wide through the middle of turn 10. That's going to have cost him a little bit of time there. Up towards the line, he does improve, but only just a 102.978 for the Finnish driver, who will not push for a second lap directly in a row. Probably have a back-off lap and then maybe go for 1 more on this same set of tyres. Flash comes across the line. I'm not sure if Flash actually invalidated or what happened there. It was just a 107.5 that he just set, so evidently backed out of that lap, and it's going to go pushing again here. Bogan also out there starting a flyer.
I think BenQ's coming through the final corner. He is, and he invalidates. Oh, the Haas driver. It's going to be all tears for him. I don't think he'll have enough fuel to get back to the pits. He definitely doesn't have enough time either, so I believe that is his qualifying over. But going back over to Flash right now, he's actually finally on a new set of softs, but he has invalidated his lap as well. Track limit's coming to bite him, as I'm sure he does not want to start on 4-lap-old softs.
Yeah, he actually found himself over in Italy in turn 3, so that was well off track. A big excursion for the Ferrari driver. Bogan out here pushing on his lap, though, currently sitting on pole position and looking to solidify that, as he actually takes a very strange line through turn 6, and Gelbevand all of a sudden moves himself up into P1. He'd been invalidating lap after lap, but we'd seen the promise from the German, and now he is starting to deliver with a 102.749. However, there's still time for Bogan to try and fight back here. The Polish driver coming through the final corner now, up towards the line. He goes DRS wide open, but this one is not the lap it needed to be, a 103.9. He's going to push for a second lap in a row, trying to get every last inch out of these tires. Let's see what Hittonen's doing. He's pushing. No, he's actually in the pit. Zoran pushing up ahead on the road. All these guys pretty much out there right now. Hittonen not, and I'm not sure Kilachu is, actually might not be able to complete this outlap in time. Coming up towards the line, we come with Kilachu and just about making it to the line in time. So that's a whole different level of intensity there. But his teammate Gelbevand is looking to try and improve from provisional.
Kilachu nailed it perfectly, but then invalidated turn 1 on the exit. So it's going to be tears for the one Racing Point driver as Gelbevand comes across the line, and he goes purple once again with a 102.713. He's got a whole 10th now on Bogan. Next across the line will be Flash, who has invalidated his lap. Going back to Zoran. Coming out of the last corner, can Zoran make any headway and get into the top 3? He moves up to 3rd. Ant crossed the line, does not improve. Bogan crossed the line, but hasn't invalidated his lap. The last one on track right now, I believe, is Oxygen, and he is coming to come into the pits, and I believe BenQ, well, BenQ's actually on a lap right now as well. I thought he had invalidated his lap, but no, BenQ, last driver possible to improve. Will he be able to cross the line?
He shouldn't set this. He's going to come across the line, but it's not going to be fast enough. He shouldn't set the lap time, and yet he does anyway.
Oh.
So I think that means BenQ is going to have to start on those at least 3-lap-old soft tyres. And starting from the same position he would have been starting from anyway. So, not sure about that decision in the end from BenQ. He was nowhere near fast enough. I think he probably could have told in the cockpit that he wasn't going to be fast enough. But I guess he just wanted a level playing field with the rest. Didn't want the power of a contra strategy. He wanted to start on those rather worn soft tires.
Yeah, or maybe he didn't even have the confidence on the medium tires. Either way, we'll see during the race. But our final qualifying results is Gelbavan P1, Bogan P2, Zoran P3, and Hittinen P4. As we will currently, while the drivers get their setups ready to go, we will switch over to the championship standings. And this is why, actually, before we do that, it looks like we know why everyone on the softs. It is raining like crazy to start our race.
Yeah, well, there you go. I guess maybe BenQ, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. So apologies to Ben for suggesting that he was doing something frankly idiotic, because this makes a lot more sense right now. It is raining cats and dogs. Right?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to try to qualify on mediums if you're going to start on wets anyways. But now over to the standings. We're going to take a look at that on our screen right now. So after 5 rounds, Hittinen has taken over the lead of the championship with 67 points. 4 points ahead of his teammate Bogan. Creo, who is not here today and did not start last week, is down to P3 with 49. He is 18 points back and still in the hunt, but seeing how Hittinen's been on a run recently and missing today may not help his championship hopes. Gelbavan P4 after having some up and down results recently. Zoran's P5. Vespa, who joined in Azerbaijan but is not racing today, is in P6. And then down the order we have another flurry of drivers who have either just struggled to get really good results out of the cars, or drivers who have just not been starting races, which is unfortunate. But it is nice to see the likes of BenQ here after not being in the last 4 races and saying that he's had stuff pop up and he's been apologizing for missing races. But he has returned to us, and that is always very nice to see as well. And one other thing I'm going to be looking for today, will Sient be able to finish this race as well, as he has also had 2 DNFs so far. BenQ had that P13, is looking for points, which all he has to do is finish to get the points. So it'll be very interesting to see how some of these drivers approach today, as they are currently now on their their warm-up lap.
Yeah, of course, everyone's going to be starting on the intermediate tires, so we don't have that sort of point of interest to talk about on this lap. But it is the intermediates and not the full wets, even though these are absolutely sodden conditions on the track for the time being. I'm surprised that this isn't quite even full wets, because looking at the track, there's a lot of puddles, a lot of standing water around the place, but the game does sometimes exaggerate in terms of visually how wet the track looks compared to how it actually feels to drive on. So that must be the case here, as it has recommended for everyone to start on the intermediate tires, and no one has felt the need to go anything else. And they're just getting a bit used to the grip. The formation lap actually a lot more important in wet conditions, so you can get an idea of where the braking points are, what the grip is like compared to what you usually expect it to be, and just get that sort of little bit of extra practice in these damp, well, probably more than damp conditions.
Oh yeah, it definitely looks more than damp around here, that's for sure. But interesting to see who is really good in the wet. I don't recall us having a wet race, at least in the revamped championship.
I think you're right, actually.
Yeah, so this will be interesting to see who's really a rain master per se. I mean, maybe not a master, but who's going to be the best in the rain around the track today for the first time.
Yeah, 9th and final driver on the grid, BenQ, lines up after getting a very slow out lap or formation lap for some reason, but the lights will come on now for the drivers. Long hold here in Austria, but we are now underway, and it looks like a good start off the line for Gelbavan. Zoran as well, and Kilachu looks like a good start as well. Hittinen struggling here, but it's Bogan up into the lead as Gelbavan crashes straight into the back of one of the championship protagonists here, and now Hittinen's actually had a really nice turn 1 and is already suddenly battling up in towards P2 here, with Gelbavan on his left-hand side. In towards turn 3 we go. Side by side they are, with Bogan up ahead. Gelbavan gets on the curbing on the exit, but it manages to get the power down regardless and holds on to P2 for now. Hittinen 3rd, Zoran 4th. Meanwhile, Oxygen's up 3 places from where he started on the grid. 5th for the time being. Kilachu and Sisson falling down the order.
Yeah, one thing, I don't know if you saw in the background, but they went 2 rows of 3 wide into the hairpin. Absolute mad stuff in the background there. But yeah, great start for Oxygen, up 3 positions. As the game's predicting a 2 or 3 stop on the intermediate tires. I don't know if they actually have 3 sets of intermediate tires, to be honest, but yeah, we'll have to see if the rain's going to hold out and get worse, or hold still, or get better. But yes, after lap 1, Bogan has taken the lead over Gelbovan and Hittinen out front.
Yeah, Kalachu found himself in a half sandwich there and was struggling to try and overtake BenQ, and then as a result almost got taken by Sissons himself. Now what has happened to Zoran? Oh, the car's just ghosting. That is all okay. Zoran still in P4, having lost a position at the start to Hittinen. Bogan leading the way in the Williams, with Gelbovan comfortably in behind in second. Then a bit of a gap down to Hittinen, who's not quite got the pace of the front two right now, but of course that could all continue to change throughout this race. It's definitely not an insurmountable gap at this stage. Zoran really struggling on the exit of turn 3, but I imagine all the drivers are struggling a fair amount. Oxygen not close enough to think about taking advantage either, so Zoran's still going to be ahead of the Red Bull driver for now. Oxygen actually got really close to the rear wing of his compatriot in the Renault, but didn't make contact.
Yeah, Oxygen's showing some pretty good pace so far. I know I didn't get to rewatch the race at France, but I know in the races prior he was struggling in overall race pace, and right now it's looking like the rain's going towards his favor as he's over the back, lose the rear end a little bit there. You know, a little bit of commentator's curse, but he's still 3/10 behind Zoran and well and truly in the hunt for a decent finish right now. So yeah, it's looking pretty straightforward so far in the rain, as it's just tricky to overtake right now in these conditions. My goodness.
Yeah, it's always much harder to overtake in this game in the wet conditions unless someone makes a mistake. Kilachu looking to try and prove me wrong as he's going up the inside of BenQ into turn 1. There's hardly enough road in turn 1 for two cars to go side by side, as Kilachu found out to his cost there, had to get out of it, otherwise he would have been in the wall on the right hand side. So still frustrated. That was the second time he's tried to get past BenQ in the last couple of laps, and yet unable to do so. Still sitting down in 8th position. Having started in 5th, he's going to be pretty upset with how this race is going thus far. Meanwhile, someone who will not be upset is Bogan, who has gapped Gelbovan to 1.5 seconds at this early stage of the race, only 3 laps in.
You almost commentator cursed him as well. He lost the rear end going through turn 5 there, but he managed to hold on. Only lost about 2/10 there to Gelbovan, but yeah, Bogan's looking really strong right now with this drive. I mean, car looks a little unstable, but yeah, he's holding off very nicely as Gelbovan is trying to drop hit, and I think he slowly is, but again, I think they're getting enough slipstream still between the few drivers to keep everyone in check at the moment.
For sure, yeah. Now the rain continuing to beat down onto the track, but a drier line, I should say, starting to form here. In fact, forming pretty nicely at this stage of the race, but I doubt the drivers will be feeling too much of a difference in grip right now. Kilachu once again really close behind BenQ, looking to finally dispatch the Haas as they climb up the hill towards turn 3. Kilachu is going to be on the outside here for the hairpin, and actually he's not even going to need to be on the outside because he gets the move cleanly done. BenQ not really fighting it back, and as a result, Kilachu will be released.
We'll see if he can be able to gain some time back and show some of the pace we saw earlier in qualifying. I mean, again, it's going to be tricky as he locks up his tires there. It's definitely not going to help his tire life, and even though the race did say, or the predicted strategy did say that you could one stop, not sure how much of tire wear the intermediate tires will go under throughout one lap or even a stint. So it'll be interesting to see if there's high wear or low wear and how that affects the overall race today.
Yeah, and depending on what happens with the conditions as well, if it starts to rain heavier and brings out full wet sort of conditions, or if the rain eases off and we start to get to the point where we might be going on to slicks, it always helps to be having as much tire life remaining in your intermediates, because that gives you so much more flexibility. It means that you're not going to have to pit. You're not going to be forced to pit on the intermediates maybe 2 laps before the rain stops coming down and you can start to go onto dry tires, and then you have to make an extra pit stop compared to everyone else. As Flash actually struggles on the exit of turn 1, and Kilachu has caught him off guard almost as much as he caught me off guard there by gliding straight past the Ferrari driver and up into 6th. So having dispatched BenQ, Kilachu made light work of Flash there and is starting to make progress back up towards 5th.
Kilachu is one of the fastest drivers on track right now, even though Bogan set down the fastest lap there. Kilachu is looking like he's just working his way slowly up back through the field and getting back to a starting position. So, yeah, it's definitely showing that pace again. But, yeah, this...
Actually, Kilachu has managed to pick up the fastest lap by about half a second.
I missed that.
Bogan. a couple of laps ago, or maybe even last lap, and he's purple in Sector 1 again, going 0.2 faster than what he's been able to do thus far. You can see Oxygen up ahead of him on the road, really struggling in the Red Bull, and Oxygen falling away from Zoran as well, going to have a weaker slipstream from the Renault than he would like, and that might make it just that little bit more difficult to defend from Kilachu behind, as it looks like Sissant has had a bit of an adventure, but he's not DNF'd quite yet. He's actually heading straight into the pit, so I wonder if he's got front wing damage in the Haas, as Kilachu goes faster yet again with a 1:14.4, and now up the inside of Oxygen already. Can't quite make the move there, but does force the Red Bull wide on the exit, and that will mean that Oxygen's traction has been compromised, and Kilachu will drag him up the hill, take the inside for turn 3, so there's no defense available for the Hungarian. And as a result, Kilachu up into 5th, where he started. Flash was looking to try and get involved as well, but couldn't quite get close enough to the rear wing.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Sissant did have a wing change in the pit, so he is going to lose a decent amount of time. I guess he must have smacked a wall somewhere. But yeah, Kilachu's on the move right now. He's using a lot of his ERS at the moment. But yes, he is flying right now. Not sure if that's due to the track getting faster, or if it's getting... It looks like it's getting a little faster, considering Bogan and Gelbavan up front have... improved on their times as well from what I saw 2 laps ago. And I don't know if this is just my screen or me being crazy or whatnot, but it looks like the rain has gotten a little lighter. So the track overall is definitely getting faster.
Yeah, I think the rain is definitely lighter than what it was at the beginning of this race. We're not seeing the same level of sort of sheets of rain flying down on these drivers, as Gelbavan now goes fastest. Kilachu, interestingly enough, not actually able to respond that time around to that lap time, and Gelbavan with a 1:13.8. That's comfortably faster than I think Kilachu has done, and that's also comfortably faster than they were doing 1 lap ago. So the conditions are definitely improving rapidly around here at the moment. Gelbavan, that wasn't enough to bring him that much closer to Bogan, who did a 1:13.9 as well. So only about half a tenth faster for Gelbavan, but nevertheless, it's always nice to know that you're the fastest car on the track at this very moment.
Yeah, it's always nice to know that you're the fastest. Now, of course, he's looking to say, all right, I'm the fastest, but I want to be first. So he's going to have to keep chopping away at the bit. And as the track continues to dry up, it'll be curious to see who really has really good pace in the dry as well, because we saw the 1 lap pace, but of course, the rain is completely different from the dry. As you have the likes of Flash is 0.3 faster through Sector 2. So yeah, definitely, the rain is definitely letting up. Hopefully we'll get a dry track soon enough.
Around the final corner we come. We'll see if these drivers are improving on their lap times or not. Gelbavan across the line didn't improve. Hittinen did, but only to a 1:13.9. So the conditions have stabilized a little bit here, or maybe the tyres wear is starting to become a factor, as Gelbavan picks up the first 3-second time penalty of the race, and this gives me my first excuse to actually use the new feature with the penalties being displayed on the left-hand side on the timing tower. And that is
yeah, I started using that too. I was like, there's no point in looking at the tire data. They're all going to be on intermediate tires. So yes, might as well look at the penalties. And I knew that they had the little symbol there of the black and white flag, but the penalty data does show how many seconds as well. So that is just awesome. And now I don't have to write stuff down, and I can be lazy. It's absolutely amazing. I love it. Thank you, Codemasters.
It is incredible. It would have been nice if it had been in the game sooner, but there we go. As now we'll be no longer left guessing when it comes to the end of every race. Someone who is guessing at the moment is Oxygen, and what he's trying to guess is how on earth do I try and find some grip on this racetrack, because he's really struggling right now. 2.3 seconds behind Kilachu ever since the Frenchman got past, and Flash is getting closer and closer to the gearbox of the Red Bull up ahead. So Oxygen driving a bit of a train with Flash and BenQ behind, and struggling to find his own pace, as BenQ now gets the second 3-second time penalty of the race.
Flash is guessing as well, along with Oxygen. So he's guessing on how he can get around, because it looks like Oxygen's got a more straight line speed. And I think that's just due to Flash is not getting good exits. He goes wide in turn 1, which will not help him. But yeah, it looks like he has a little better cornering. He's got a lot of energy still left in the car, which will help him out. But I mean, it doesn't matter if you can't get up behind him, as Oxygen goes very deep into the hairpin. Will that compromise his exit a lot? It won't do enough, but Flash is right there. We'll see if he goes and deploys all his battery. He's gaining up on the way to turn 4. Will he make the move around the outside? No. Not close enough, but he pulls the switch back on him. Will he get it? Just does not get a good enough drive on the exit there as Oxygen. Brilliant job by Oxygen to recover there.
Yeah, Flash went for the switchback, but there wasn't enough space on the inside left by Oxygen. Nothing wrong with what Oxygen did there, but Flash went for a gap that only kind of half existed, and as a result, had to go on the grass a little bit. That compromised him on the exit. But speaking of compromised exits, Oxygen running wide through turn 7, that will have almost certainly been a corner cutting warning, and also making him go even slower. He runs wide through 9 as well. 10, that's a little bit neater for him, and that might save his graces for the time being. Kilachu going even faster now with a 1:13.2. Bogan's managed a 1:13.3. The times are still coming down here, so the track is still improving. Sissant, thank you, Gelbevand, all with 3 seconds of time penalties right
Yeah,
now.
interesting to see. Kalachu is definitely gaining a lot on Zoran. As Flash goes to make the move on the inside Oxygen into the hairpin, will he hold it as both of them lock up their front tires? But Flash is through and up to P6. Very nice move under brakes. Will Oxygen try to respond going into turn 4? Doesn't look like he's gaining enough, and it looks like that position will be Flash's to keep.
Yeah, Oxygen actually going for the very late maneuver up the inside of Flash. Flash wise enough to leave him the space, because otherwise the Red Bull is going to be heading straight for his side pod. But I think Flash should have enough about him to hold it on through turn 6 here, and as a result, Oxygen will have to settle down in 7th position.
Yeah, some very nice side-by-side action under the rain, in the rain, and I did not think Oxygen would go for the move there. It was a very good move, but very great driving by Flash to recognize Oxygen going for the move and leaving just enough space. He did exactly what Oxygen did to him the lap before, and as a result, it worked out for him as we saw previously.
Kilachu right up behind Zoran. Now that gap was around 1.5 seconds only a couple of laps ago, but Zoran had a poor lap, I think, a couple of laps ago, and Kilachu set the fastest lap. So as a result, they are much closer together on track now than they were back then, and Zoran under pressure from the French driver, currently sitting in 5th, looking to make it 4th, but not close enough this time around, and with 6% available battery charge in the ERS, I'm not sure that he's going to be troubling Zoran anytime soon unless he can start to recharge some of that battery.
Yeah, definitely looking good out there right now. I zoned out a second there because I had a conversation real fast. Doesn't help when my puppy decides to go and do something crazy. But either way, Kalachi, yeah, he's gained on Zoran a lot. And also at the same time, the gap towards the front, the cars have kind of started to space each other out. It's Bogan's now 2.5 ahead. Hitting those dropped off of Gelbevan as well. So not sure if that's just showing some pace or mistakes or whatnot. But yeah, definitely some interesting developments at the moment, as also Flash is pulling away from Oxygen as well. So curious to see if BenQ is going to have more pace than Oxygen or if he's just going to nestle behind him.
Yeah, at the moment it is Bogan who looks comfortably the class of the field right now, but Kilachu looking to claim that crown, if not the race winner's crown, because I don't think that's really on the cards right now for Kilachu. Is making good progress up through the field, but anything more than a podium might be a bit of a pipe dream for the Racing Point driver, especially if he keeps finding himself stuck behind Zoran and keeps finding himself with only 5% remaining battery charge at one of the prime overtaking spots. You need to be able to deploy the battery out of turn 3 and down towards turn 4, because that's when he's getting closest to the rear wing of that Renault. That's when he can start to read the word Renault just up ahead. And so, you know, that's when he needs to be saving the battery for, surely. As Zoran actually struggles now on the exit of turn 7 and might just prove me wrong. Kilachu with a golden opportunity. Can't afford to waste this one up the inside of turn 9, but breaks too early. Thinks that would have been a crash if he had gone for it, and I think he's probably right. So settles back down in 5th, and that's going to be frustrating that he couldn't quite take advantage of the Hungarian.
Yeah, Kalachi is just really low on battery, and it's not helping him. Not sure how much battery Zoran has, but Kalachi is using all of what he's got right now. He's really close. I don't think he's been this close previously, but Zoran's just got more battery left in his car, and it's just hurting Kalachi's charge up the field, as now there's looks like a 4.5 second gap from hitting into Bogan, and then there's 2 seconds between hitting and Zoran. So Kalachi is just losing time left and right if he wants to have a chance at having a top 3 or top 2 result even.
Oh, he's going to go for the dive bomb here. Zoran leaving space, as we saw Flash doing to Oxygen a few laps ago, but this time it is the driver on the inside who pulled the trigger who will get the advantage. Zoran not finding the grip around the outside of turn 4, and Kilachu finally getting up and past the Renault driver into 4th position now. with Hittinen 1.9 seconds up the road. So there's another fresh batch of clean air for Kalachu.
Yeah, he noticed enough. Once he made the move there, he didn't use any of his battery. He actually saved up a little bit of it. So that was just raw throttle control and brilliantly done from Kalachu. So now, like you said, will he be able to run down Hittinen and continue his charge up the field? I don't know, but Hittinen is definitely falling off of Gelbevand. So the gap is now 3 seconds between him and the other racing point. So now will be the true telltale now that Kalashi is up towards the front to see what kind of pace he really has in comparison to the leaders.
Yeah, this race truly is a bit of a tale of the Williams and the racing points. But Hittinen is falling away just a little bit there, letting the Williams side down for now. But Kalachu, who let the racing point side down in qualifying and on the opening lap, is starting to try and make amends, having gone all the way down to 8th position, maybe even 9th on the opening lap, and finally back up into 4th now, ahead of where he started on the grid even. So it's been a very nice drive from him thus far. Oxygen and BenQ further back, they're going side by side through turn 4. BenQ looks to have the better run on the exit. These guys have fallen 5 seconds behind Flash, who's been able to gap them ever since getting past Oxygen, and Oxygen still really struggling in these slippy conditions in the Red Bull. Maybe went for a dry setup in qualifying, and as a result,
yeah, if he went for a dry setup, then let's hope that the race goes dry later on. As Kalachu just a 12.9. The times continue to drop as he closed a second on Hittinen that lap. He is definitely the fastest driver out there right now, considering the gap hasn't changed much between the front 3 on that last lap. Kalachu is flying. You know, I don't think a win is off the table just yet, since we're only on lap 15.
Yeah, I think that might have been a bit of a wake-up call for some of the drivers up towards the front as well. The fact that Kalachu was able to just go faster on this same set of intermediate tyres there, because Bogan, Gelbevand, Hittinen, they hadn't been improving their lap times for the last 4 or 5 laps or so. They've just been kind of sitting, resting on their laurels in the mid-13s, and all of a sudden Kalachu going for a 12.9, an incredibly fast lap in the Racing Point, and showing that these guys still should be going faster and faster. And maybe now that they realize that, they'll start to push in certain corners just a little bit more, realizing that there is more grip available.
I guess we'll have to see what Bogan does this lap to see if he's listening to your words of advice, which make a lot of sense, and that definitely drivers should be doing right now. Because the gap, Hittenen's just falling off right now like crazy. I'm not sure if he made a mistake. It looks like he has. Oh no, he's gone into the pits. That's what. Hittinen is deciding to go into the pits. We'll see if he puts on another set of intermediate tires, which I don't believe it's time for dries, that's for sure. So, must be if...
This has to be intermediates for the Finnish driver. We'll just wait to see and confirm. Yeah, those are intermediates going on to the Williams. No surprises there, and not able to hang on until the track gets to a dry state. I wonder if any of these other drivers are going to start to think about coming into the pits as well, as Bogan wasn't able to respond last time out to the lap time of Kalachu, and I'm not sure Gelbevand has been able to either. I'll just double check that in the race director. Yeah, 13.8 last time around from Gelbevand, whereas Kalachu actually was a bit off the pace last time with a 13.9, but the lap before it was a 12.9. So, you know, there is still... I mean, Kalachu's not sort of putting those laps in lap after lap after lap, but he was caught up a little bit behind Hittinen as well on that previous lap. So Gelbevand and Bogan not able to up their game in response to the Frenchman.
Yeah, but Kalachu does have that 4.3 second gap to close up to his teammates, so it's definitely going to be a tall order for him as he gets just a 10th through turn 9. So I have to see what he can do, but I do think with Hittinen pitting for the intermediate tires, that might be a sign that I don't think it'll get dry enough for dries this race, because I don't see the point of pitting if it's going to go dry at some point. Speaking of in the pits, I believe that is BenQ in the pits. No, that's Cient into the pits yet again. Not sure if he had wing damage or whatnot, but he's going very slowly on the pit exit. I'm not sure if that's intentional or not, but...
I think he knows he's going to get lapped by these guys if he comes out of the pits right now, so he's letting the whole field through, so that he doesn't have to be getting out of the way of them once he comes out of the pits. So just giving himself a bit more of a comfortable ride towards the end of this race. Down in P9, but at least he's not DNF'd, as he has at the other 2 races he's participated in thus far this season. And because there's only 9 drivers, it doesn't really matter that he's right at the back. He'll still claim 2 points. Hittinen, by the way, came out right at the back of the field, excluding Sissant in P8. But only 1.6 seconds worth of time up towards AOR Oxygen before he's going to start to be a bit held up, and that might compromise his ability to try and undercut his teammate and Gelbevand, who were ahead of him before the pits, as the rain has stopped now. So I think we are going to get to dry conditions, and Hittinen just couldn't make those tires last well enough to get to that stage. I wonder if we're going to see punctures, as it's clearly getting edgy for the drivers out here. If Hittinen decided that he couldn't risk it, these guys must start to struggle very badly right now. As Oxygen heading into the pits as well, is he going to keep with a set of intermediates? Surely it's not dry enough yet for slick tires. And maybe he's just getting up into the really high percentages in terms of the wear on those intermediate tires. What is it going to be in the pits? It is going to be inters once again. So that is really bad news for Oxygen, that he had to come into the pits there, because it's only going to be about 3 or 4 more laps, maybe a few more than that, but as little as 3 or 4 more laps is possible before we get to the state of this race.
Yeah, but Hittinen, that is huge for him, as if he can now turn on the afterburners and use those tires to its fullest, he might be able to gain some time if track doesn't dry up just yet. But again, it's going to be risky, because now we are halfway through the race now, and those intermediate tires are sure to be dead for the front runners. Apparently not for Kalachu, though, who is now 2.2 behind Gelbevand. He is still flying as he goes to dive into the pits there. Not sure if he used the proper entry. We'll have to rewatch that in the footage. We'll have to see now. Is he going to put on another set of intermediates, or will it be dry tires? We're getting a pit strategy update change to medium tires on this lap. I believe he is going on to the dry tires. Yes, he is. It's looking like he thinks it is dry enough for dry tires, as Zoran comes into the pits as well. Is that BenQ behind them, both of them? Yes, that is. Looks like Hittinen pulled the wrong strategy by pulling the trigger 2 laps too early. Not what the championship leader wanted to do, as DRS gets enabled.
Yeah, for sure. And it's even worse for Oxygen, who was 1 lap too early and is coming straight back into the pits yet again. So that's a bit gutting for the Red Bull, who was struggling a lot in the wet conditions as well. So on the one hand, he'll be glad that it's become dry, but on the other hand, he'll be absolutely kicking himself for not sticking it out 1 more lap on that set of intermediate tires. Interestingly, Bogan and Gelbevand, whenever the game decided that it was time for dry tires, Bogan and Gelbevand had already passed the pit lane entry, so they were unable to go into the pits, and Flash actually sticking out there on intermediates as well. So these guys are probably going to be coming into the pits at the end of this lap, as Gelbevand gets a major swapper through turn 9, but we'll be able to make the pit entry without too much issue here. Just about getting it slowed down before the pit entry line as well. So these guys are all going to go on to medium tires, you'd have to expect at this stage of the race.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah, but now I think it's time to watch Kalachu. Where does he come out in reference to everyone else? What was that ooh for?
Bogan on softs, not medium tires for Bogan, the Polish driver, going on to the Red Walled soft tires, but there's still 16 laps left to go. In
the safety car.
Flag, I think that's for one of the Haas cars. And a safety car coming out for, I believe that was Sissant, who lost it on the exit of turn 4. But this is really interesting now, because Kalachu did manage to get the undercut and is up into the lead in the racing point. So as soon, I was saying earlier how it seemed very unlikely that Kalachu was going to win. He got the monster undercut on those medium tires and is now leading the way. However, the car behind is on softs, so will represent a threat in the first few laps after the
Yeah, Kalachu with the undercut of all undercuts. That was an amazing one. But this safety car, you know, came out at perfect timing for him, because if it would have come out a second or two earlier, I think Bogan and Gelbevand might have gotten him on the pit exit. But as a result, the fact that it came out after he got the overtake on him, he was able to just slow up with the lead comfortably. But one thing I want to note about those soft tires, 16 laps is definitely going to be a tall order. But with the safety car now, they might be able to go. I mean, they will be dead those last few laps. And the mediums will struggle a bit as well. But these first few laps, those soft tires could be killer. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Go on.
Ooh. Flash diving into the pits as well on the medium tires currently. So that's surely going to be for a set of softs for the Ferrari driver, who just about gets it slowed down for the pit entry. Might lose out 1 position to BenQ, maybe another to Hittinen as well, but evidently valuing having those soft tires to the end of the race. So Flash, now that the safety car comes out, agrees with Bogan that it's possible to get softs to the end and is rolling the dice down.
Yeah, it's going to be really fast, at least on these first few laps. I mean, the mediums are no slouch tires, that's for sure. But again, the soft tires is like driving through. Assistant gets a speeding under the safety car penalties. They go from bad to worse, so he'll have to serve a drive-through later. But back what I was saying, if you've ever done an open lobby around Austria, you are on low fuel, most likely for a 5-lap race, on the soft tires, and you can put some blistering lap times around the track. So I'm sure that's what Flash and Bogan have in mind right now, and Sissant as well, even though he is a little farther back down the field.
Well, so Bogan and Flash, they're going to have to make the first few laps on those soft tires work, but they're also going to have to avoid taking too much life out of them in the process, because they're still going to be edgy towards the end of this race, and even if they're not going to blow up, they're going to get a lot slower than the medium tires. Once you get about, 10 laps into that stint on the soft tires, they're going to start to struggle. So Bogan needs to really get past Kilachu quickly and then be able to manage the tires from there. Kilachu, the longer that Kilachu can keep Bogan behind, the better for both the Frenchmen in the lead at the moment, and also Gelbevand in third. Racing Point will be eyeing this with the potential 1-2 here, which did not seem.
Yeah, another thing you do have to account for is penalties. Just trying to slide through is get to the detail state. Missed it. There we go. 3-second time penalty for Gelbevand could be a problem if the likes of Zoran, BenQ, and Hittinen keep up, which we know Hittinen, he showed some really good pace before. Zoran's known for good pace. BenQ, who's actually benefited a lot from the safety cars up to P5 after running towards down the order. He's definitely benefited from this, but if some of these drivers can show some pace and just keep within the DRS range, because I'm sure it'll be enabled right after the safety car comes back, then Gelbevand might lose more positions than he thinks.
That is for sure possible. If these trains do start to form, as you mentioned, Gelbevand does run that risk, and that's just the punishment you take for having cut the corners, extended the exits, and maybe even some of the entries as well. But yeah, you mentioned BenQ really winning out. That's because Hittinen and Oxygen, of course, they pitted for a second set of intermediates and then had to run into the pits for another time. And then Flash, of course, was ahead of BenQ as well, but decided to roll the dice and go for those softs. So as a result, the Haas driver up into 5th, flying the flag for the American outfit, as Sissant is emphatically not doing that right now. Yet to serve the drive-through penalty, though I'm not sure if you can serve it behind the safety car. I think you probably can't. So we're going to have to wait to see when Sissant is going to do that, as the safety car is remaining out for yet another lap here. So every lap this safety car stays out is better.
Yeah, I believe Sissant went to serve his penalty, but then realized you can't serve it under the safety car, which is why he's so far back right now, because he probably would have caught up at this point. But, having that extra, amount of time spent in the pits is throwing him off a bit. But, yeah, very unfortunate that he got a lap down and waited on that pit exit, because if he would have stayed out there, who knows? He might be back on the lead lap right now, but, he's looking like a 2-point kind of day for him, which definitely is not bad when you have 0. So, can't complain.
For sure, yeah.
Yep.
That's an infinite amount more in terms of, But, yeah, so Oxygen, interestingly enough, hasn't decided to go onto those soft tires as Flash and Bogan did. Of course, wouldn't have lost any positions with the Hungarian if he had decided to come into the pit. So evidently Oxygen doesn't agree that going onto those soft tires to the end of the race is the better strategy right here. If he had done, he probably would have come into the pits at the end of the last lap, because it's likely the safety car will end on this lap, and Oxygen would have been able to catch back up to the rear of the field with fresh soft tires on, but nevertheless opting for the 3-lap-old mediums instead, as we are indeed seeing the
Kalachi's already got a second gap. I think the rest of the field isn't ready for him. He wants to get going because I think he knows the importance of breaking the DRS and getting away from Bogan. But yeah, as they get ready back for the race to get going under green flag conditions, we'll have to wait and see when Kalachi decides to pull the trigger.
Holding up the field for the time being. Bogan not too far behind, and then Gelbevand in close attendance as well, as we are now racing once more, heading into the final corner. They're pushing flat out and up towards the line. Bogan's actually going to be pretty close to the rear end of Kilachi. You might even think about a move into turn 1. He's already pressing the overtake button, going to hold behind the Frenchman for now, but if he gets a good run on the exit here, he's for sure going to get the Racing Point driver probably before they even get up to the top of the hill here. There might be a chance actually for Kilachi to fight back. Seems to be running a lower downforce setup, interestingly enough, for Bogan later on the brakes with more grip on those soft tires and already up past Kilachi. He needed to make that move as soon as possible, and it's going to be gutting for Kilachi to see him going past. Meanwhile, further behind, Hittinen trying to make amends for the mistake he made earlier. They're 3 wide down the back straight here. Can they
Oh my
pull it up
gosh.
through turn 4 without any tears? It looks like the answer is yes. And it's Flash around the outside who might have taken both of them here in the Ferrari on those soft tires. Zoran trying to battle back through turn 6, but Flash shows him the door. And a lovely move from the Ferrari, man. These soft tires.
My jaw just completely dropped at that overtake. That was insane. You know, we saw them go 3 wide at the beginning of the lap, but I did not think they'd go 3 wide into turn 4. But either way, Flash pulling it out with Bogan now already gapping a second to Kalachu. I don't believe DRS is enabled just yet, but that is huge for Bogan as he tries to run away. As Kalachu gets a 3-second time penalty. That is tears for the Racing Point outfit, as now both of their drivers have a time penalty.
Good news, to a certain extent, is that because of the battling behind, they are out of DRS range of Flash right now. The bad news is that Flash will almost certainly get back up into DRS range, and Kilachu's helping him out with a mistake on the exit of turn 3. That means Gelbevand is already up and past his teammate. Kilachu will fight back in towards turn 4. No team orders here, all just enough room on the inside for the Frenchman, but he has to get out of the throttle on the exit, and that means that Gelbevand has made the move. Back up into second he goes, so Kilachu, who was looking like the rainmaster in the damp conditions, struggling here in the dry on the exit of turn 3, and as a result, Gelbevand taking advantage. Flash well within range of them as well, but Zoran not able to catch up with them, so that might limit the extent to which they're going to lose positions due to penalties. However, Gelbevand has picked up yet another 3-second time penalty over the course of this lap as well. He's up to 6
Yes,
seconds.
Flash picks up the fastest
Really
lap.
the
Ferrari driver is flying right now, as he's right now in the hotspot. He's already in a net P2. How much farther up the road can he go? I don't think Bogan's going to be caught at the moment, but Flash is flying right now. DRS wide open. Will he go in for the move into 3? No, not enough. As Siet gets a speeding into the pit lane penalty, I believe, when he goes to serve his drive-through. So that is just not what you want to see happen.
For sure it is not, and what Flash wants to see happen is exactly what's happening right now. Kilachu being dispatched on the outside of the entry to turn 4. Flash making the move with ease, and now can look to chase down the second Racing Point up ahead. Doesn't need to pass them to finish ahead of these 2 Racing Points, of course, because they have the penalties, but Flash wants to start chasing down Bogan for the race lead. They are on the same set of tires, so Flash won't have that advantage over the Polish driver out in front. But he might well be feeling very confident in the Ferrari cockpit. When you're passing cars this easily, your confidence will absolutely go through the roof, and you'll feel like Superman in the car for the time being. Flash going faster than Bogan was able to do as well, only narrowly, but he did pass a car on that lap. So Flash, definitely the fastest guy on track at this very moment in time, already within DRS range of Gelbevand as well. Not going to be close enough to make the move into turn 3, but on the exit, as long as he gets a decent run, should be easily past Gelbevand before we get to turn 4. Behind them as well, there's battling, as I think that's Hittinen and Zoran. Hittinen getting past the Hungarian up the hill into the hairpin, but now here comes Flash up the inside of Gelbevand, and just like last time, there's a Racing Point on the outside, and just like last time,
Flash is actually gaining on Bogan like crazy. He's now 1.9 behind him. He was 3 seconds behind him a few laps ago, as he's going even faster right now. The new driver in the split after joining for the first time last race in France is on track already for a podium, or possibly a race win if he could just close down a little bit more on Bogan and get into the DRS range. Phenomenal stuff from the new driver.
Truly so. This has been an electric drive since the safety car came in from Flash, and he goes faster again. It's still 1.9 seconds between himself and Bogan. That gap's not coming down as fast as Flash would like, but I wonder how many warnings Bogan is sitting on right now. I'm just going to take a look. In fact, it's one warning for Bogan right now, and the same could be said for Flash. I'm not sure either of them are going to be picking up penalties before the end of this race.
Yeah, Flash is going to pull along with him Gelbevand and Kalachu, who, granted, do have their penalties, so they are not an exact threat for position at the moment. But it doesn't matter if you got more drivers coming into the fight. You know, who knows what'll happen. But yeah, Flash just got to make up 9/10 to get into the DRS range. He has a very nice sector 2 there, as he does gain a 10th. Not sure if Bogan was making a mistake or just Flash just flying right now. But yeah, the two drivers holding stagnant throughout this lap by the looks of it.
Yeah, Kilachu really close behind Gelbavan once again. So having made the mistake and ceded the position to Gelbavan, Kilachu wants to try and claim it back. Runs very wide through the exit of turn 10. That will have been a warning picked up for sure for the French driver who's frustrated. You can see in the cockpit the way that Kilachu is driving right now that they are kicking themselves for making that mistake on the exit of turn 3 and allowing Gelbavan past. Zoran picking up a 3-second time penalty. That goes to show you just how hard it is to avoid corner cutting and extending the track around it. For Zoran, when Zoran picks up a penalty,
yeah, Zoran's been a master of that this season, but recently it looks like he's been struggling a bit more. I mean, I do think he's gotten a little bit more pace, though. He's definitely looked pacier, but at the expense of track limits is never the best thing because, you know, consistency versus pace, it's an age-old argument that, you know, one will eventually outweigh the other, and in this case, it's looking like he's kind of canceling him out at the moment. But either way, Flash has definitely gained a little bit of time on Bogan as Siet picks up yet another penalty. He's up to 17 seconds, but hey, he doesn't have to worry about losing a position because of him being in P9 at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think either Haas driver has to worry about that too much, as BenQ is now 20.5 seconds off the rest of the field, having had to come in for a front wing change after the first flying lap once the safety car came back into the pits, and now BenQ has actually spun while I was talking about him on the exit of turn 6. Between turn 6 and 7, he's to get going again pretty quick before we get another safety car out here, but has managed to do so. So that is all going to be okay. Flash getting closer to Bogan, but not by too much. It's 1.5 seconds between them, as it looks like Bogan's had a poor exit of turn 2, actually. Flash gaining by 2/10 down that back straight at the top of the hill. Bogan under a little bit of pressure here. It's not that far away from DRS range from Flash, and once that DRS becomes available, I'd expect that gap to be coming down even further. So Flash absolutely making a race of this right now. It's 1.2 seconds. The gap just keeps coming down.
Yeah, he's absolutely flying. You know, I was very thankful he got promoted because he's giving us some thrilling action today in Austria. He's just 3/10 off. Bogan was struggling there because he struggled through 3, like you said, but also through turn 4 as well. He lost another 2/10 on Flash. So it's like those 2 sets of corners. He's really struggling at the moment. And yeah, if he continues to struggle, Flash will catch up to him at this rate.
He's had a better turn 1, a better sector 1 of this lap than Flash as well. Looks like Flash has a little bit of an advantage when it comes towards the end of the straights in terms of drag. Flash about 4/10 down on his best time already through the first sector, though. So starting to struggle on these soft tires, and BenQ's off the road again. Is actually going to be unlapped by Sissons there, and it's the exit of turn 7 where BenQ has found himself coming to pain. Meanwhile, Gelbavan and Kilachu, they're also staying really close behind Flash, so they are all closing in on Bogan. If Gelbavan and Kilachu didn't have these time penalties, this would be an absolute barnstorming finish to the race, but it might just be one regardless, as it's still 1.3 seconds between Flash and Bogan. Flash not able
I think we're starting to get close to the crossover point with the mediums. Might be a little faster than the softs, just because of the fact that softs do have that a pretty higher I wouldn't say high, but it's definitely a higher tire degradation around here. So that is definitely making it harder for Bogan and Flash to keep on the road. And BenQ, as you can see, you know, Sisson at this rate, Sisson's the one who went off the road. Sisson went off the road. BenQ came into the pits. It's the two Haas drivers are just kind of tricky to figure out who is who. But yeah, both of them are showing some struggling on tire wears. Bogan gets a horrible exit out of the hairpin. Flash is now gonna be in DRS range, going onto the front straight at the end of this lap. Bogan might have just thrown it away if Flash could just hang on. This race is not over.
Yeah, Flash needs to hold on through this tricky technical section of the lap. This is when the dirty air hurts you most from following another driver. Bogan has absolutely free air up ahead, and Flash is going to have to really try. He runs wide through turn 7, and that's going to cost him a couple of tenths. And critically, he's not going to have DRS when he comes to the pit straight unless Bogan makes a mistake in these final 2 corners of the lap. Nothing doing from the Polish driver, and as a result, Flash will not quite be in DRS range, but it's oh so close, and there's still 4 laps to go in this race. Flash still has every opportunity to win this one. But every lap that they keep pushing on these soft tires, it's going to be getting more and more likely that Gelbavan's going to be getting past him. Right now, that's exactly what is happening to Flash. Gelbavan making his way up into second. It's hardly going to matter because Gelbavan has 6 seconds of time penalties, but it is going to interrupt Flash's progress up towards Bogan. However, Gelbavan will be able to eat up that gap and should be able to draw Flash along with him with the benefit of the DRS as well. Kilachu getting close behind Flash, but not close enough to make a move.
The mediums
This
are
might
definitely
be
the faster
exactly
tire
what
right
Flash
now,
actually
considering the
needs.
fact those softs are dying. Both Bogan and Flash are out of ERS. Gelbavan has just enough at the moment. Question is, will he be able to use enough to get up to Bogan? He's still not in DRS range. Bogan hanging on for dear life right now up at the front of the field, making the soft tires work for him as we come to 3 to go in the race.
It's not going to be DRS down the pit straight, but Gelvan is within DRS range now. So we might well see a DRS up the hill towards the hairpin, and I think we are going to see that for the Racing Point driver. So this is when it's going to start getting really nervy for Bogan. It's been sweaty already in that cockpit. Even more so right now as Bogan looks to try and hold on to his first win of the season. He doesn't need to worry too much about Gelbavan getting past, but if Gelbavan does get past and then gaps him, he's going to be a sitting duck for Flash behind, who seems to just be that little bit faster right now, even though they are on a very similarly worn set of soft tires to our race leader. Gelbavan wasn't able to make the move in towards turn 4, but he is going to get past Bogan before the end of this race. That I'm almost sure of, as Bogan struggles through turn 6 as well. Turn 7, once again, not really meeting the apex there. You can see just how much grip is lacking right now in the cockpit of Bogan. Kilachu picks up another 3-second time penalty, stuck behind Flash, and that means that
As right now he is in net P3 because of the 4.5 second gap to hit, and then Gelbavan all the way right on the gearbox of Bogan going through turn 1. I think he'll have a chance into the hairpin at the very least. He's got enough ERS to make it work, but he's not deploying it. I think he's waiting for turn 4, but it might not need it. He's gaining. Bogan goes defensive. Gelbavan goes to go round the outside, but he makes contact with the rear of Bogan and is not able to hang on as Bogan covers the apex before Gelbavan can get the switchback going.
Lovely defense there from Bogan, just parking it on the apex well enough, but he's going to have to defend again in towards turn 4, and he might not have done so. Up the inside goes Gelbavan and beating him on traction as well. The medium tires doing work for Gelbavan, but now it's still Bogan fighting back up the inside of turn 6. He's not done yet. He's not willing to relinquish first place on the road. Further behind, Flash has still managed to hold off Kilachu, but Bogan is still ahead of Gelbavan right now. It's the penultimate lap of the race, and he's doing everything he can to hold on to this position. And this is definitely going to help Flash to try and keep interested in the battle up ahead as well. Sisson picks up a 3-second time penalty. With all this battling, I wonder if Bogan and Flash are risking time penalties as we enter the final lap of the race. Gelbavan dives it up the inside in turn 1, almost spins round, and this might give the opportunity for Flash to get past. He's got to run on Gelbavan, but more importantly, he's got to run on Bogan. No DRS for the Williams driver, and up the inside goes Flash, and in a flash, he's found his way from 3rd to 1st, but only for now, because Bogan is still battling around the outside. Flash gets the better traction on the inside of the track, and Gelbavan is involved as well. This is going to limit Bogan's ability to even fight back on the German driver. And the other German goes around the outside of turn 4. He's still going for it right now. Kilachu interested as well, but it's really Flash and Gelbavan to the line, and Flash holds it. And now there's no more overtaking opportunities left. It's Flash from Gelbavan, from Bogan, from Kilachu.
Yes, it's speaking at the death hit, and it's only 2 seconds behind Kilachu. He might steal P3 at this rate because of his less penalties, but it does not matter as Flash comes out of the final corner, comes up to the line, and wins the Austrian Grand Prix, with Bogan taking P2 and Hittinen stealing the 3rd spot onto the podium, making it a Williams 2-3.
Oh, wow, okay, so I said, at one point in this race, I said, this is the Racing Point and Williams show, maybe Racing Point can get a 1-2. Flash comes and blows that out the water. He was not really looking like all that much in the wet conditions, but after the safety car on the dry tires, Flash made the risky call to go onto those softs and fought his way up through the whole field. and in the end was just enough to take it away from Bogan. Gelbevand was really the sort of catalyst for that whole battle, and in the end it was Flash that he
Yeah,
benefited
honestly, I didn't
more
know if
than
Flash
Bogan,
had enough in
and
him
that was
because
what
with
decided the race.
with a lap and a half to go, Kalachu, once Gelbevand got alongside Bogan, Kalachu ran into the rear Flash, pushed him wide in turn 4. And that's why Kalachu is missing an end plate, because I saw it go flying off in the background, and Flash almost lost a second there. So he was able to benefit from Gelbevand keeping the pressure on Bogan, but either way, so the game says driver of the day is Flash. I think I have to agree with that.
For sure, yeah. This is only his second race in AOR F2 as well. He's in the F2 Sprint League, but he's not been in the F2 F1 League, if you catch what I mean, until last time out. And this race, Flash straight to the top step of the podium, though that definitely does not tell the whole story of the race because it was absolutely frenetic. And Bogan, a moment for the Polish driver. He's going to be gutted. Second in the championship, multiple pole positions to his name, and he thought finally this was going to be his first win of the season, and yet, on the final lap of the race, it's taken away from him, not only just by Flash, but by the interference of Gelbevand, who had 6 seconds worth of time penalties. Bogan is going to be gutted and probably a little bit furious as well. Gelbevand perfectly within his rights to do everything he did, and I'm thankful he did it as well, because it gave us a thrilling end to the race.
Now I'm sure he'll come out with the chip in his shoulder next week when we go to Silverstone. But yeah, what a phenomenal drive today. That was very entertaining. It looked like it was Bogan's to lose, but Flash came from the back. I mean, at that restart, he was like P6, I believe. And so he was able to... He might have been 7th. Actually, yeah, I think he was 7th because BenQ was 4th, Zoran 5th, Hittinen was 6th. So yeah, Flash was 7th. You know, was able to make the double overtake on Hittinen and Zoran, and then just worked his way through the field. BenQ had gotten overtaken by all 3 of them, I believe, before turn 3. But Flash with an absolutely monstrous finish to the race. Very entertaining, to say the least. And man, even though we had 9 drivers today, I think that was arguably the most entertaining one of the season.
For sure, yeah. Imagine if that was happening at the front of a full grid, just how incredible that would have been. But it takes nothing away from the battle itself, and it takes nothing away from the performance of the
truly, absolutely amazing. I mean, we had some great 1-2 battles towards the front earlier on in China and Vietnam between the likes of Padlo Flutes and Schultzes, who have moved up to F1. And now it looks like Flash, Bogan, Gelbevand, Kalachu, the 4 of them, an absolutely phenomenal battle. And then Hittinen able to benefit off of Bogan's defense there and was able to steal that podium spot. Didn't think he had it. He was 4.5 seconds back, but he was able to steal the podium there at the end. So very great job between the drivers today.
Sure, yeah, and I think I have nothing else to say about that other than that. I think that's just incredible.
I do not have anything else other than thank you everyone for watching today and enjoying the end of the race there. That was a very crazy end of the race there. We will be back at the same time next week when we race around Silverstone, hopefully with the larger grid, but we will definitely have just as much action, I would assume, around another iconic track on the calendar. That is all from us today. I am Fizzymon, and alongside me, as always, is Aladar, and we thank you very much for watching, and we hope you have a great rest of your Sunday.